Hey, it's Watch Complications. I'm Brian. Welcome. Glad to have you here on the channel. I encourage you to subscribe if you haven't, ring the bell if you want updates, and check out my website, watchcomplications.com. If you want some fun daily watch photos, check out my Instagram at watch_complications. Links to these things are in the description below. Do I look a little bit rough? Grail hunting is rough. So it's been a while since I've published anything related to my Brian and the Grail series, and I thought this would be a fun time as we kind of approach the end of the year to give an update on that. The real driver behind this, if you recall the last video, I will link that playlist and stuff in the description below and in the video, is that I went through a process. One, I've sort of selected my Grail, which is an Armin Strom Mirrored Force Resonance Water. It's not in their configurator anymore. I'm sure I could get a hold of one either directly or secondary market if I get to that point, but that's kind of the idea of a Grail. But man, what a chase. So in those first set of videos, I went through the process of talking about my Grail and then choosing a temporary stand-in. Like I reviewed a Reef Tiger and a Binger and just these low cost, $100 watches that kind of have some of those similar design looks or characteristics, color palette, and chose a stand-in. It was this one. This is the Binger. I don't remember the number off the top of my head. I'll put it in the video. So this has got dual flywheels. It's about the same size of case. It's got a 24-hour indicator and date on it, which the Armin Strom doesn't. But this kind of gave me the same vibe anyway, in a much cheaper Chinese package as opposed to Swiss package. This was part of that series, and I thought, well, maybe at some point I'll get some other in between, something very low end like this and the actual Armin Strom Mirrored Force Resonance, which costs, if you go at retail, between $50,000 and $60,000. That's a chunk of change for a watch. So why this video right now? Well, it just so happens that I have an Armin in my possession. Of course, like many of you, probably, for whatever price range you're looking in, scour places like eBay, Chrono24, secondary market for deals here and there. And a particular deal came up. And I looked closely at the watch. I talked to the dealer, and something seemed a little bit off about it. And I like the dealer. I'm not going to go into detail about that. I think maybe something slipped through the cracks. Now, this video really is University of Horology. I want to talk some specifics around dealing with dealers' pre-owned watches and how to take a closer look at watches when you receive them. Make sure everything's okay. Don't let anything slide by. Now, I do like the dealer I've got this watch through. I have worked with them before, and so even though you might have a good relationship with a dealer, when you're dealing with pre-owned watches, things can slip through the cracks. You can use those to your advantage, or you can choose to stay away from them. So we're going to look at this watch that I have, which has some problems, and I thought there might be problems with it. I was right, but I've been able to barter a pretty good deal. One, the watch was a good deal, and now it's even going to be a better deal. It's going to take some time and trouble on my part, but then the end game is a nice stepping stone to the Mirrored Force Resonance and a real Grail. So let's just do a quick little peek at this watch. I wanted to get something at a lower price point from the brand that uses the same case, same strap, so I could get a real feel for the watch at a fraction of the value. And so here I have the Armin Strom Gravity Water. Now this is a limited edition. It's got the same case. The only thing different with this watch and the Mirrored Force Resonance is it has a pusher up around 2 o'clock. So this watch is in a series of 4. And the 4 models, all limited editions of 100, an Air, titanium watch, the Earth, which is black PVD, the Water, which is stainless steel, and then Fire, which is rose gold. And on the engraving on the back of the movement, on the reverse of the case, it varied with the design for whichever variant of this series you were looking at. And so this one has like water droplets and stuff on the back. The Earth one has what looks like rocks engraved into the back. Now there are regular versions of this series as well that have a complete dial. This is the Gravity variant, Gravity Water, and so what you see here is a skeletonized, semi-skeletonized dial, which of course Armin Strom, that is what they do. Before they were making their own watches and movements and stuff, they were already doing skeletonization for other brands like Omega. And they've, of course, some time back started making their own watches. They've not been around for a very long time. It's a young company when it comes to Swiss watches, but they've come a long way in a very short amount of time. So this is a big step toward that Grail. And it's important to take those stepping stones so you feel like you're getting somewhere. You know, you start with something lower end, move slowly up, and eventually you can get there. It just takes time. You got to be patient. Most of us, you got to save. You can't rush it. And this is going to give me the opportunity to wear this, get a feel for the size of the case. It's not small. It's 43 millimeter by 13 millimeter, so it's got some girth to it. It's big, and just getting a feel, is this really what I want? Then I know whether I should really take that deep dive or maybe change to a different Grail idea. So that's the idea behind this. The issue is, it needs to go back to Armin. Let's take a look at it up close and we'll get into the details.
All right, so here we are with the Armin Strom Gravity Water. See that beautiful half cut out skeletonized dial. As I mentioned, this is a big watch, a little over 43 millimeter diameter, and it's got a substantial lug to lug, and it's got height, it's got weight to it. The strap adds a lot to it. Actually, it's quite a thick horned alligator strap. It's a beautiful color of blue. Love the white stitching. It's just a great overall look. Of course, the Mirror Force resonant looks amazing with this same strap. Hope I get to see it in the flesh one day. Haven't been able to see one yet, but right now this is my new temporary stand-in after it's going to get back from the service. Remember, this was my previous stand-in, $100 special from Binger. Okay, you can kind of see that aesthetic, that same vibe with these two, and why I chose this cheap one. Okay, so the retail on this watch, originally I've seen two different original retail prices. One was around $14,000, one was around $12,000. Either way, expensive watch right off the shelf. And the clasp on this, by the way, probably the coolest clasp I've seen have in my collection. It's just this. I love the color of the metal. I love the action of the clasp. Of course, you can see it's both sides. Oh, I love this strap. And it's easy to get on and off of this strap. You would think it'd be hard, but it's actually quite easy. Now, why is this going to be going back to Armin Strom? The reason is, I think, and again, the dealership should have done better due diligence with this. Me being a semi-maker and a watch enthusiast that is intent and intentional about my collection, who does me, pays attention to the fine details, and as a maker, an engineer, I pay attention to the mechanics. And I'm guessing what happened was at some point, whoever bought this watch originally didn't have quite a true love for high horology. And so when it came time to do a service or something happened to it, they weren't going to pay the what is probably $1,000, give or take, to send it back and have the service done properly by the manufacturer. And this is an in-house movement. It's not like you're going to find parts off the shelf for this thing. But regardless, either service or something, someone tried to cut some corners and they did not put it back together correctly. And it works. It runs. So pre-owned watches, you've got to be careful, my friends. Even if it's through a reputable dealer, things can fall through the cracks. And that seems to be what's happened here. So when I got the watch, looks fine on the front, runs fine. I put this on the time grapher. It is spot on, and I mean spot on. And it's run fine now for a day that I've had it. It's getting shipped back out today. You flip it over to the back, and it looks beautiful, particularly just to the naked eye. Seems like everything's running fine. Generally looks okay. And then all you got to take is one quick zoom in picture, and you can start to notice the symptom of the problem. And then me being a maker, I very quickly noticed the issue and figured out what it was. Someone who doesn't know watches may have worn this for, I don't know, months, years, maybe not noticed until weird things started to happen with it. So let's pop in a little bit closer. Let's take an up close look. You can see it. And what you'll see is a symptom of the problem. And if you recognize this symptom, you can pinpoint the issue pretty quick after that. Notice we've got the wheel train here, and notice this debris. See those black specks? It's not rust, I don't believe. You can also see it here on the plates, bridges. You can see it on the micro rotor assembly here, a little bit over here on this bridge. I love these water droplets. It's so cool. Okay, but I noticed this debris pretty quick. And it's like, okay, that's not right. Something's wrong here. And again, pictures online, when you're buying pre-owned watches in today's market, which could be remote, this one was remote, you don't get a chance to maybe look at it in the flesh. I would have personally, in the shop, put a loop under it and would have noticed it pretty quick. Not everybody's going to do that, perhaps, but you can't always do that when dealing with ADs and pre-owned stuff. But I guess I could have asked for some better pictures, but, you know, good dealer, and I'll discuss what the agreement was upon my receiving this and noticing the issue. Pay attention, my friends, to the watches you buy pre-owned. Even if it says excellent condition, this watch was marked as being in excellent condition. But I got a really good deal on it, and my guess is they really didn't know about it. And don't worry, we worked out a deal. You can see this debris. What's the issue? All right, I'll give you another second. Correct answers in the comments below. I'll give you the answer. Right here and right here. Those are supposed to be jeweled. The jewels are missing for these pinions. Now, again, I don't know the history of this particular watch. I don't know if this was someone who needed a service or something was up with it. They took it to a local watchmaker where they're not going to use parts, and whether there was something broke about that, or they took it apart, or lost the jewels, or who knows what, right? It does no good to spend time guessing or doing hypotheticals. Regardless, somebody was in this case. Somebody performed some sort of service on it and put it back together without the jewels on the gear train pinions. And that is an issue. So what's this debris about, and how does that relate to the fact that these jewels are missing? Well, jewels, which are usually synthetic rubies, sometimes sapphires, their purpose is to keep friction down. If you just have a metal pinion inside of the bearing there, the gear, you're going to have metal on metal friction. The jewels, which get particular kinds of oil inside, mean you have a metal surface interacting, basically circulating through a synthetic or real smooth jewel, piece of glass that's oiled. What does that mean in terms of the mechanics? It lasts a lot longer. You know, I'm not being super technical about the terminology here, I'm sort of bringing it to the general audience. But the purpose of these jewels is to keep the metal on metal friction down. You can see them in these other locations with the gear train and the rotor and the escapement and all these other things. So those are important. Somebody put this back together with the jewels missing. What that means is we have metal on metal in here with the pinions in their locations. And what happens when you have metal on metal friction and turning? You can end up with debris. Whether that's oil, that somebody actually put oil in it and it's splattered around a little bit and it's a little bit wonky because of that, or if it's because we've actually got wear and tear where the metal is actually shaving and breaking and it's in these little bitty, very fine pieces, and it's kind of scattering itself with movement around the inside of the watch case. It's just bad, my friends, bad. So I noticed this right away. And what does that mean? Well, it means it has to go back to the manufacturer. This is an in-house movement. You are not going to find these parts on the street. That's handled by the manufacturers. Those services cost a lot of money, though, so sometimes people will skimp on that. Issues like this can come up in the pre-owned watch market. Now, again, I got a really good deal on this watch, much lower than the retail price. When you get in a situation like this, you don't let that stuff slide. You have a talk with the dealer, even if it's a good dealer. Now, a good dealer, a reputable dealer, will deal with the situation. they will understand that it was on them. They should have caught it. They should have dealt with it. So what's going to happen? I'm going to get a service from the manufacturer for free. So not only was this an excellent deal on this watch, it's also going to save me $1,000. So basically, I'm going to get what almost will equate to a brand new squeaky clean service watch from Armin Strom when this is returned to me. So it's almost like saving $1,000. Is it a little bit trouble? Is it a little bit of headache? Yeah. Could I have maybe avoided this by asking a little bit more detail, getting some more detailed pictures and stuff? Maybe, sure. But at the end of the day, this is the Grail hunt. There's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be challenges and whatnot. I ended up with an amazing watch at an amazing price. And it just got a little bit better from the financial side because this will be really good to go. A good number of years. And I'll know that it's straight back from the manufacturer and that it should be spot on. That's not that bad, even though it's a little bit of extra headache. Sometimes a bad deal can turn into a good scenario from a financial perspective. So I hope this is lots of good information for you here, both in things to watch for, things to look at if you can see a watch in person before buying, or have someone check it out for you that you might know if it's in a different spot of the country or something like that. But also working things out with dealers is an important side of this, particularly with high horology watches that are in a different bracket, a different category, price range. Or even if you get a watch and it's brand new, don't always trust a condition, excellent condition, good condition, lightly worn, no wear and tear. This does have one little scratch. Maybe you can kind of see it right here, which is fine with me. Little bumps and dings. There's another one over here on this side. There's one little ding next to the glass somewhere along here. It's kind of hard to see without being zoomed in a lot. There's a couple little marks, and all that's kind of well and good with me. But a mechanical issue like that, it's got to get fixed. So, brought a tear to my eye to one extent, but I know after probably what'll be a couple month wait, I'll have what will have equated to a very good deal on my wrist. All right, so that's that. Let's say goodbye.
Watch collecting or being a watch enthusiast is certainly not for the faint of heart. And if you're going to go after a particular grail in a long-term sort of way, you got to be particularly committed to it. Take those stepping stones. I'm going to be playing the waiting game for what will probably be 2-3 months. Who knows? It's got to go back. And the idea is when I do have it back, I will have made an excellent deal. I got the watch for a low price already. Now it's going to come back basically new from the manufacturer on a service, and that's going to stay, crisp and clean and good and operating well for a very long time. So looking forward to that. Like I said, this Grail chase is rough. It's hard on your heart and your soul. It can take some time. I hope you enjoyed this little update on my Grail chase. I hope yours is going well. Comment below. Tell me how things are with you and what you're looking for and how you're going about it. Always happy to interact with my subscribers and viewers. When I get this watch back in tip-top shape, I will give another update and we'll take a really deep dive, review-like, of the watch, since this is just an introductory look at it. And then I'm going to have this around for what will probably be several years before we can maybe get to the real thing if I decide this is what I want. Thank you so much to all my subscribers and viewers. Glad to have you around. Check out my website, watchcomplications.com. Subscribe here, ring the bell if you want updates. Check me out on Instagram at watch_complications. Use the comment section. I'm Brian. This is Watch Complications. I am out.